Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one.
The introduction. In the quiet town of Maplewood, where the rustling leaves whispered secrets and the streets held a sense of nostalgia, the arrival of autumn brought an eerie stillness. Nestled between rolling hills and a sprawling forest, the town seemed an unlikely backdrop for a tragedy. Yet it was here that darkness would soon rear its ugly head. As the sun dipped below the horizon in late October, children bundled in sweatshirts played in the park, their laughter echoing through the cool air. Little did they know that just after sunset, the local lens shop, owned by middle-aged Jack Thompson, would become a grim focal point. Jack, known for his warm smile and skillful photography, was loved by the community. He had a knack for capturing not just faces but moments that conveyed the very essence of life in Maplewood. On this particular evening, as the last customers departed and the flickering lights of his shop dimmed, Jack was preparing to close up for the night. He meticulously organized his equipment, unaware that fate had a sinister turn planned for him. Outside, shadows lurked, blurring the lines between the ordinary and the malevolent. 10 minutes before the clock struck 8, the doorbell chimed, an all too familiar sound that immediately set Jack on alert. He turned, greeting the silhouette in the doorway. The figure was draped in a dark hooded coat, the hood partially obscuring their face. "Can I help you?" Jack asked, his voice steady despite an unsettling feeling stirring in his gut. The figure stepped inside, and the pungent scent of gasoline wafted through the air, mingling ominously with the warm sense of varnish and photochemicals. Little did Jack know, this would be the last photograph ever taken in the shop. The victim, Jack Thompson, was more than a local lensman. He was a pillar of the community, known to many as Mr. T. His photography studio served as a haven for families seeking to capture fleeting moments, milestones, such as birthdays, weddings, and graduation. He had a way of making each subject feel seen, often spending hours getting the perfect shot. It wasn't just a job for him. It was an art, a calling, born from his childhood fascination with a weathered camera handed down by his grandfather. Renowned for his empathy, Jack often reached out to families in need. He offered free sessions to struggling single parents, believing that everyone deserved a physical reminder of their family's joy. As a result, his warm demeanor and genuine willingness to help carved a special niche for him in Maplewood's heart. But beneath the cheerful exterior, Jack harbored secrets. He was battling demons of his own, grappling with feelings of inadequacy stemming from a failed marriage. Though divorced 5 years prior, he continued to support his 2 children, Emma and Justin, who spent weekends at their father's studio. They were the joys in his life, the reason he constantly sought creativity in the everyday mundanity of life. On the morning he was last seen, Jack was in high spirits. He had just received a call from a local parent seeking a family portrait session. It was an opportunity to reignite his passion, something he had been working towards since the summer. This newfound excitement radiated from him, and he was already planning the best angles and lighting for his beloved subject. As the sun set that fateful evening, the serenity of his life was about to be shattered. The gentle hum of daily existence replaced by a chilling permanence. The heart of Maplewood was about to be pierced. Said a beloved figure was counted among the tragically taken. The crime scene. When Detective Sarah Collins arrived at the lens shop, night had fallen, casting an ominous shadow across the once vibrant studio. The sight that greeted her was a stark contrast to the warmth that had filled these walls only hours before. Yellow police tape flapped in the cool breeze, cordoning off the scene as the blue lights of patrol cars painted an unsettling glow over the interior. Jack Thompson lay sprawled behind the counter, his lifeless body a haunting testament to the day's violence. The small, dimly lit room felt suffocating, an uneasy amalgam of camera flashes and tragic finality. Detective Collins noted the overturned tripod and a shattered camera lens nearby, remnants of a struggle that spoke volumes of the chaos that had unfolded. As she stepped carefully around puddles of crimson, she took in the details of the scene. A lad officer stood at the entrance, relaying initial findings. Bullet to the chest, just one shot. But look at the angle. The shooter was standing right here. He motioned toward a nearby shelf, marked with streaks of blood from where Jack had fallen, roughly 5 feet away. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding. Collins knew instantaneously that this was no robbery gone wrong. Cash and valuables remained untouched. Instead, it felt personal, an act of calculated murder. Her intuition hummed with the understanding that a deeper motive lurked beneath the surface. As forensic units began documenting evidence, Collins looked closely at the remaining cameras positioned on the walls, remnants of a once busy studio, now turned crime scene. In a place dedicated to capturing moments, Jack had met his end. The irony hung heavily, and with it came a sense of urgency. Room by room, detail by detail, Sarah began her search for truth, knowing that with each photograph taken here, Jack had frozen smiles, laughter, and love in time. But now, all he had preserved was the story of a life cut short, a narrative she vowed to unravel. The early investigation. The following morning revealed a pall of fog that lay over Maplewood, reflecting the somber mood gripping the community. Detective Sarah Collins gathered the evidence collected from the crime scene and began piecing together Jack Thompson's final moments. Her mind raced through the possibilities that would lead to such a violent act. First, she interviewed the shop employees, Jack's part-time assistant, Mia, and a neighboring store owner. Mia, a college student studying photography, had the fondest memories of Jack, recalling his infectious enthusiasm and fatherly guidance. He had such a vision for this place, she said tearfully. I can't believe someone would want to hurt him. But as light filtered through the clouds, Detective Collins's focus sharpened. Had Jack had any enemies? Anyone who seemed upset with him in recent weeks? She asked, noting how Maya hesitated, glancing at the ground. Not that I know of, she finally replied. But her voice trailed off. But what? Sarah pressed, sensing there was more to uncover. Well, there was this strange customer last Saturday, Mia admitted. He acted really weird. Kept asking all these personal questions about Jack's life. It was unsettling. Sarah noted the details but needed more corroboration. She turned her attention to the neighboring shop owner, Harmon, who ran the local bookstore. His history intertwined with Jack's in a way that felt promising. As he described the events of the previous week, Sarah sensed nervousness underlying his words. Hey, Lucy, anyone scissors hanging around the shop? She asked, looking for signs of anxiety as he fiddled with a coffee mug. Any arguments? Tensions? Harmon nodded slowly. There was a guy a little disheveled, you could say. A few times he walked by, always casting glances inside. Collins felt a prickling sensation at the back of her neck. It was a lead, one that hinted at the growing urgency to uncover Jack's past and the motive, hidden within the chilling silence of a community now haunted by loss. As the clouds finally broke and rain began to fall, Detective Collins left the comfort of warm coffee and conversations behind, keen on tracking down the figure that had drifted through Jack's life in the shadows. The dead ends. Detective Sarah Collins sifted through the leads, gathered from her initial interviews, mounting a growing stack of notes on her cluttered desk. Each piece of paper bore the weight of unanswered questions, yet progress felt painfully slow. Despite her efforts, a sense of frustration loomed over the investigation. The disheveled man described by Mia and Harmon remained elusive, slipping through the seams of her inquiries. With few witnesses coming forward, and the absence of security camera footage from the lens shop, the case began to feel like a labyrinth of dead ends. She put out a bulletin to neighboring towns and vigilantly combed through local databases, searching for individuals with similar descriptions who may have been in town recently. Perhaps something in Jack's past had stirred conflict, but tracking every lead felt like chasing shadows. As days passed into weeks, Collins attended town hall meetings, hoping to unlock potential connections among the tightly knit residents. It was during one such meeting held under the fluorescent lights of Maplewoods Community Center that she overheard whispers about Jack's divorce and how it had fractured the image of their family. Rumors circulated about Jack's ex-wife, the speculation insinuating that their parting was bitter, marked by unresolved hurt. Collins approached Linda, determined to decipher the truth that might lie buried amid the community's gossip. Linda was described as a loving mother, but the detective noted a flicker of bitterness in her eyes during their conversation. He was a good father. But life changes, she said. Her voice tightened. It wasn't easy for either of us. When Sarah asked about any lingering conflicts, Linda's tone shifted. There was nothing I could do about his business. We were separated and I wanted no part of it. But I heard he had trouble with some customers. Maybe before she could finish, her phone buzzed, a reminder of the time. Time slipped away, and Collins felt the urgency of the case pressing in. Returning to her office later, Sarah paced, reviewing the tangled connections forming in her mind. A small scrap of paper caught her eye, notes from Jack's assistant about a dispute over a payment due. It was a lead, not yet fully explored, but felt vaguely promising. In a case riddled with ambiguity, every seemingly insignificant detail could be a key. As she shifted gears, Collins understood that progress could come from the unlikeliest of places if she could just push through the dead ends. A break in the case. The rain had ceased, leaving behind a crisp autumn morning that clung to the remnants of defeat. Yet, amid the fading gray clouds, Detective Sarah Collins finally felt a flicker of hope. After dissecting Jack's financial records, she had discovered a peculiar transaction, a large cash withdrawal from his account just 2 days before his murder. Collins leaned over her desk, poring over the details. The withdrawal, over $500, was unusual for Jack, who usually preferred to keep his finances under tight control. What had compelled him to withdraw such a hefty sum? Was it tied to the mysterious clientele Mia had mentioned? Intrigued, she reached out to the bank manager, who provided her with the surveillance footage from the day of the transaction. Positioned in a dimly lit corner office, Sarah watched closely as the grainy video played. There, framed in the flickering light, was a figure that matched the description of the disheveled Manfi customer with a strange demeanor who had visited the shop the previous Saturday. As the man approached the teller, his behavior grew erratic, and Sarah's pulse quickened. There was a murky tension in his movements, an anxious glance over his shoulder, a half-hearted smile that didn't reach his eyes. The withdrawal was made for an undisclosed reason, but this provided the connection she had long been searching for. Feeling invigorated, Sarah began tracking down the man. She enlisted the help of local patrol officers, who recognized the individual from her descriptions. His name is Charlie Dwyer, one of them informed her, his brow furrowing. He's had some run-ins with the law before, mostly petty theft and substance abuse. He often moved around, finding odd jobs. With the foundation laid, Detective Collins visited Charlie's last known address, an aging boarding house on the outskirts of town. The presence of weariness and neglect seemed to seep from the worn walls as she stepped inside the place, where hope faded like the peeling wallpaper. She approached a frail figure huddled in the corner of a dimly lit common area. "Charlie Dwyer?" she asked, and his head snapped up, surprise washing over his face. Slowly, the pieces began to align, and Sarah braced herself for what might be a pivotal moment in the case. "Can you tell me about your relationship with Jack Thompson?" she prompted, her voice steady, even as her heart raced with anticipation. A suspect. Charlie Dwyer shifted in his seat, eyes darting around the room as though the peeling wallpaper might somehow swallow him whole. Detective Sarah Collins remained composed, her gaze unwavering. She had seen men like Charlie before, lost souls wandering through life's darkness, often bearing the scrapes of past choices. The air around him felt thick with apprehension as he struggled to collect his thoughts. "Jack, yeah, I saw him a few times," Charlie said, his voice raspy as if each word was pulled from a deep well. "He's a good photographer. Gave me some prints once when I was, down on my luck." Sarah's instincts flared at this unexpected mention of kindness. "Did you approach him for help?" Charlie shifted again, the weight of guilt dragging at his shoulders. "I didn't mean anything by it. Just thought maybe he'd help me out, I was in a tough spot, needed money for things." His gaze fell to his hands, a story unraveling beneath the weight of his admissions. "Things, drugs," Collins prompted, leaning closer, sensing a raw honesty behind his wavering confession. He met her eye, the flicker of shame palpable. "Well, I got desperate," he mumbled. "But there was another reason, too. I thought he might help me with some photo work, not just cash. I just wanted to talk to him about it. Did he agree?" "No," Charlie replied, his voice nearly a whisper. "He said he couldn't. And I don't know why, maybe it was my past or something. But it's done, Then I saw him pull out that cash the other day." "Interesting," Collins noted. "You were at the bank?" she probed. "I was outside, like I said, planning to talk to him about some work." The resolve in his voice was waning as he recoiled from the gravity of their conversation. Panic shadowed his features, and the shifting demeanor only heightened Sarah's scrutiny. But I didn't mean to hurt him. I never wanted that. He was just, I don't know, another door shut in my face. With this admission, the pieces began to align unsettlingly. Sarah sensed desperation at the cornered reactions of a man who could easily feel trapped. She challenged herself to decipher Charlie's intentions, wondering if he was merely a victim of fate, or if his despair had driven him to the edge of violence. As she assessed his demeanor, it dawned on her that an invitation lingering just out of reach might have led to a confrontation beyond reckoning. "Where were you the night Jack was killed?" Sarah pressed, her voice steady, betraying none of the fire brewing within her. The trial. Months passed, the town of Maplewood slowly beginning to heal from the shock of Jack Thompson's brutal murder. Yet, as the trial date approached, the community's collective breath hung heavy with anticipation. The quaint streets and familiar landmarks bore witness to the turmoil, transforming this tight-knit town into the epicenter of a tragedy that would ripple through its very core. Detective Sarah Collins sat at the back of the courtroom, her heart pounding as she watched the proceedings unfold. Charlie Dwyer, the man accused of committing the crime, appeared disheveled and lost, a striking contrast to the passionate defense attorney representing him. The attorney argued that Charlie was merely a troubled soul with a history of mental health issues, suggesting that his emotional volatility could have rendered him incapable of premeditated murder. As the prosecution took their stand, Collins listened intently, eager to see justice for Jack. Witness testimonies painted a vivid picture of Jack's character, his kindness, his dedication to family, and the friendships he had cultivated over the years. But it was Mia, the young assistant, who delivered the heart-wrenching testimony that brought palpable tension to the courtroom. "I was afraid for him that night," she said, tears welling in her eyes as she recounted the man's erratic behavior and the strange questions he posed during their last encounters. "I could see how agitated he was. I think Jack's instinct was right. He sensed something was wrong." The courtroom was tense, quiet, as Sarah observed the judge's subtle nod toward the jury, acknowledging the impact of Mia's words. Yea, with every turn of the trial, it became clearer that Jack had not merely been a victim of unfortunate circumstances. He had been a target, and the effects rippled outward, affecting everyone connected to him. In the coming days, forensic evidence took center stage. The bullet casing retrieved from the shop matched to a gun registered in Charlie's name. The prosecution argued that the desperation had driven Charlie to confront Jack directly. There was a struggle, a fight for power, and in some dark conclusion of desperation, Jack had become the biggest unintended victim. As Sarah leaned forward, her heart raced at the mounting evidence against Charlie. The moments leading to that fateful night played like a raw film strip in her mind. Then, as the defense delivered their closing arguments, a glimmer of doubt surfaced, twisting through the room like a chilling breeze. Did Charlie truly wish to kill? Or was this a case of a man overwhelmed by hopelessness, leading to shock and panic? The jury's deliberation would determine the course of the emotional turmoil tightening around Maplewood, a town straddling the line between grief and justice. As Sarah left the courtroom that day, she felt the weight of uncertainty coil tightly in her chest, her thoughts a chaotic whirl. Jack Thompson deserved justice, but would the truth shine through the tangled narratives? The aftermath. The verdict echoed in the small courtroom, sending ripples through the community of Maplewood. As the jury declared Charlie Dwyer guilty of second-degree murder, a hush fell over the attendees, a mix of relief and sorrow coating the air. Sarah Collins stood, breath tight in her chest, stifling the wave of emotion threatening to overwhelm. Justice had been served, yet it came at a steep cost. Jack Thompson was gone, leaving behind the lingering fragments of a life never fully realized. In the weeks following the trial, the town rallied together to commemorate Jack's legacy. A memorial service drew dozens of townsfolk to gather at the park, where children had once played under autumn trees. Candles flickered in the soft twilight, casting warm glows amidst the chill of encroaching wind. Each tribute spoke of Jack's generosity, his spirit immortalized in snapshots and stories exchanged between friends and family. Sarah stood quietly on the outskirts, a bittersweet smile on her lip. She listened to memories shared amongst the community, understanding the profound depth of loss that connected everyone in attendance. Jack had been more than just a photographer. He was a confidant, a friend, fought their guiding light, snuffed out abruptly. Though the trial had drawn to a close, the emotional remnants would linger long after. Linda, Jack's ex-wife, reconciled the mistakes of their shared past, seeking solace in co-parenting their children. Yet, every time she looked into the faces of Emma and Justin, she felt the chasm of loss etched deeper, the waning struggles of a fractured family still fighting to hold on to threads of hope. Collins returned to work, but found it challenging to immerse herself in the mundanity of her routine. Jack's case had unspooled the complexities of human fallibility, boiling tensions, the desperation lurking just beneath the surface of everyday life. She felt compelled to dig deeper into other cases, but had weighed heavily on her conscience, seeking justice not only for the victims, but also for those grappling with the demons of their existence. Even as life resumed its familiar rhythm, Maplewood would never fully mend. It bore the scars of Jack's absence. Autumn skies turned to winter frost, leaving the town cloaked in silence, haunting reminder of how swiftly joy could turn to sorrow. As Detective Collins walked the still streets she had come to know intimately, she understood that the past would always resonate with the lessons learned, now woven like intricate patterns into the fabric of the community. In the quiet moments, like the soft rustle of leaves against pavement, the echoes of Jack Thompson lingered, in enduring testament to love, loss, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Reflection. As winter settled over Maplewood, Detective Sarah Collins found solace walking the familiar pathways of the town. The stark, bare trees stood sentinel against the gray sky, a reflection of the profound transformation everyone was now enduring. Each step felt heavy, but also necessary, as she processed the weight of Jack Thompson's case and its impact on the community she had come to cherish deeply. In the quiet corners of her mind, memories of Jack lingered: his laughter, the warmth in his eyes as he coaxed smiles from shuttered souls, and the love he shared with his children, woven together in moments frozen in time. This case had not merely been a matter of solving a murder. It was about understanding the tapestry of human experience that strayed into darkness. Every encounter made her confront the fragility of life, revealing truths buried beneath the surface of everyday existence. Choices shaped by desperation, moments of vulnerability, and the hidden battles fought in silence. These were the threads that connected Jack's story to the myriad of lies interwoven in Maplewood. Reflecting on the journey, Sarah allowed herself to embrace the bittersweet nature of truth. She understood that while justice had been served, it was the love, resilience, and unity of the community that would ultimately affirm Jack's legacy.